Pine needle and rosehip syrup, a cold country recipe. Part 1, The Biological Battle. There are winters in Alaska that test a person's patience. And then there are winters that test the body itself. Because in the far north, cold is only part of the equation. The real threat is quieter. It creeps in slowly, through diet, through isolation, through the long absence of fresh food. A deficiency not felt in a single day, but built over weeks. At first, it is easy to dismiss. A little fatigue. A soreness that lingers longer than it should. Gums that feel tender. Skin that takes its time to heal. But these are early warnings. Left unchecked, the body begins to falter in ways that are harder to ignore. For generations, homesteaders have known this enemy well. Scurvy. A disease most people believe belongs to another century. To wooden ships and salt-stained decks. But remove access to fresh food long enough, and it returns. In these conditions, vitamin C is not a supplement. It is infrastructure. It is as essential as firewood, as water, as shelter itself. And so, long before supply chains and powdered mixes, people turned to what the land could still offer, even in winter. Not obvious abundance, but quiet resilience. Today, we step into that knowledge. Not just a recipe, but a defense. Part 2, The Wild Harvest. The ingredients for this syrup do not come from a store. They are gathered. And gathering, in winter, is never casual. It requires attention. And a certain respect for the landscape. The first is spruce tips. Even beneath snow, spruce trees remain one of the most reliable companions in the north. Their needles hold vitamin C year-round. But the tips, the newest growth, are where the concentration is most accessible. Run your fingers along the branch ends. You are looking for flexibility. A softness that bends without snapping. Color helps too. Healthy tips carry a brighter green, sometimes almost luminous against the darker needles behind them. Take only what you need. A few tips from each tree. Enough to fill your hand, not strip a branch. Because in a place like this, sustainability is not philosophy. It is habit. Then come the rosehips. If the spruce is subtle, the rosehip announces itself. Small bursts of red and orange, scattered along thorn branches. Often the only color left in a landscape gone pale and still. The frost changes them. Before it, they are firm and sharp. After it, they soften. Their sugars deepen slightly. Their bitterness relaxes. Pick them carefully. Avoid anything blackened, shriveled, or mold-soft. What you want are firm, resilient fruits. Ones that have endured the cold, not succumbed to it. There is a rhythm to gathering like this. Cold hands. Measured movements. The quiet awareness that daylight is limited. And then, eventually. Enough. The basket fills. The air begins to bite a little harder. And it is time to head back. From the stillness of the woods. Into the small, controlled warmth of the cabin. Part 3, Ingredients and Preparation. Inside, the transition is immediate. The door closes. The wind disappears. And everything slows down. This is where the raw becomes usable. Laid out on the table, the ingredients are simple. But they are measured with care. For this syrup, you will need 2 cups fresh spruce tips, lightly packed. 2 cups rosehips, stems removed. 4 cups clean water. 1 to 1.5 cups honey. Optional, a small slice of fresh ginger, or a strip of citrus peel. If working with frozen rosehips, allow them to thaw slightly before use. Begin by rinsing everything in cold water. Spruce tips may carry bits of bark or dust. Rosehips sometimes hold fine debris in their stems. Take a moment here. This is not a step to rush. If the rosehips are particularly large, they can be gently crushed. Not mashed, just opened enough to expose their interior. Inside, they contain small seeds and fine hairs. These will be strained later, but for now, they remain part of the process. Set everything aside in readiness. Because once heat is introduced, the process becomes less forgiving. Part 4, the alchemy of the pot. Place the spruce tips and rosehips into a heavy-bottomed pot. Pour in the 4 cups of water. Set the pot over low heat. This is where many go wrong. The instinct is to rush, to boil, to force extraction. But this is not that kind of recipe. This is closer to steeping than cooking. Watch the surface. You are not looking for rolling bubbles. Only the faintest movement. A slow release. Over the next 30 to 40 minutes, the water begins to change. First in scent. The spruce rises, sharp, clean, almost like cold air made visible. Then the rosehips follow. Tart. Fruity. A quiet sweetness underneath. Together, they begin to balance one another. Too much spruce alone would be overwhelming. Too much rosehip, and the mixture turns thin and overly acidic. But here, there is equilibrium. Stir occasionally. Use the back of a spoon to gently press the rosehips. You will feel them soften, yielding their contents. If the pot begins to boil, reduce the heat immediately. This is the second time restraint matters. High heat will pull bitterness from the spruce and degrade the very nutrients you are trying to preserve. A slow simmer is not just preference. It is protection. After 30 to 40 minutes, remove the pot from heat. Let it sit for a few minutes more. Then strain. Use a fine mesh strainer, or cloth if available. Pour slowly. Press gently, but not aggressively. Clarity matters here. The result should be a clear, amber to ruby liquid. Something that looks alive. Part 5, Sweetening and Preservation. Now comes the transformation from infusion to syrup. Let the liquid cool slightly. It should still be warm to the touch, but not hot. Then add the honey. Start with 1 cup. Stir slowly until it dissolves completely. Taste. This is where preference comes in. Some will want it sharper, more medicinal. Others will prefer a softer, more rounded sweetness. Adjust gradually, up to 1.5 cups if needed. The final flavor should sit somewhere between forest and fruit. Now, prepare your jars. In a remote setting, sterilization is not optional. It is what allows this effort to last. Jars can be boiled for 10 minutes. Or placed in an oven at low heat until thoroughly warmed. Lids should be clean and dry. Pour the syrup carefully. Leave a small amount of headspace. Seal tightly. As the jars cool, they will settle. And over the coming weeks, something subtle happens. The flavors deepen. The sharper notes soften. What was once bright and immediate becomes rounded. More complete. Part 6, the first dose of survival. When it is finally used, there is no ceremony. Just consistency. A spoonful in the morning. Another in the evening. Or stirred into hot water, creating a simple tonic. Steam rising. Hands wrapped around a cup. In the middle of winter, this matters. Not just for the body, but for the mind. Because it represents something larger. A kind of quiet independence. A knowledge that even when the outside world is distant, something essential has already been secured. This is not just a recipe. It is a practice. A way of noticing what the land offers. And answering in return. And like all such practices, it only survives if it is continued. So wherever you are, pay attention. Because survival knowledge rarely announces itself loudly. It waits. In small things. In overlooked places. Until someone decides to learn it. And carry it forward. Recipe not meant to replace medical advice, but for historical